The vast emptiness of space was broken by the sleek, metallic forms of the Zixarian fleet. Their ships, shaped like giant arrowheads, sliced through the darkness between stars. Inside the largest vessel, Commander Zixthor stood tall, his 6 eyes scanning the holographic displays surrounding him. "Another system conquered," he said, his voice a low rumble. The Grixians didn't stand a chance. His second-in-command, Vixna, nodded in agreement. "Our oxygen bombs worked perfectly. Their entire civilization collapsed in days." The Zixarians were known across the galaxy as unstoppable conquerors. Their advanced technology and brutal tactics had brought countless worlds to their knees. But it wasn't just their weapons that made them feared. The Zixarians had mastered the art of exploiting weaknesses in other species. Their deadliest creation was the oxygen bomb. Most life in the galaxy had evolved in low-oxygen environments. The Zixarians discovered that a sudden, massive increase in oxygen could be fatal to these species. It was a weapon that killed without destruction, leaving planets ripe for takeover. As the fleet moved on, a junior officer approached Commander Zixthor. "Sir, we've detected a new solar system on the edge of our space. Initial scans show signs of civilization." Zixthor's interest was piqued. "Show me," he ordered. A new hologram appeared, displaying a blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. Data streamed across the image, detailing atmospheric composition, radio signals, and more. "Interesting," Zixthor mused. "This Earth seems to be at a crucial stage of development. They've achieved basic spaceflight, but haven't expanded beyond their own system." Vixna studied the information. "Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but they're advancing quickly. If left unchecked, they could become a problem in a few centuries." Zixthor nodded, his mind already formulating plans. "We'll need to study them further before we strike. Send stealth probes to observe their civilization." Over the next few weeks, the Zixarians watched Earth with growing fascination. They saw a planet teeming with life, its surface covered in diverse ecosystems. But it was the dominant species, humans, that truly captured their attention. "These humans are resilient," Vixna reported. "They've survived multiple extinction events, adapted to every environment on their planet, and continue to push the boundaries of their science." Zixthor frowned. "Are you suggesting they could be a threat?" Vixna hesitated. "Not with their current technology, but their rate of advancement is unprecedented. Given enough time, they could potentially challenge us." The commander considered this information carefully. The Zixarians had faced stubborn species before, but something about these humans nagged at him. Their adaptability reminded him of the Zixarians' own history. "We can't risk letting them develop further," Zixthor decided. "We'll strike now, while they're still vulnerable." The Zixarian War Council convened to plan the invasion of Earth. Strategies were proposed and discarded as they sought the most efficient way to subdue this new world. Why waste resources on a ground invasion? One general suggested, "Our oxygen bombs have never failed. One strike, and their civilization will crumble." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council chamber. Zixthor, however, remained cautious. "We've never encountered a species quite like these humans. Are we certain the oxygen bomb will affect them?" The chief scientist stepped forward, her voice confident. "Commander, we've analyzed their physiology extensively. While they do require oxygen to survive, a massive increase should overwhelm their systems. The bomb will be as effective on them as it has been on every other oxygen-breathing species we've encountered." Zixthor nodded slowly, convinced by the scientist's assurance. "Very well. We'll proceed with the oxygen bomb attack. Prepare our fastest ship to deliver the payload." As the council dispersed to carry out their orders, Zixthor gazed at the holographic image of Earth. Something about this blue planet and its inhabitants stirred an unfamiliar feeling in him, a mixture of anticipation and unease. Little did the Zixarians know, their greatest miscalculation was about to unfold. The very adaptability they admired in humans would soon become their undoing. On Earth, life continued as usual. People went about their daily routines, unaware of the alien threat looming in the darkness of space. Scientists detected unusual signals from deep space, but these were dismissed as natural phenomena or glitches in their equipment. In major cities around the world, a few keen observers noticed strange lights in the night sky, too fast and erratic to be normal aircraft or satellites. Conspiracy theories spread online, but most people paid them no attention. As the Zixarian bomb ship entered the solar system, it triggered distant early warning systems. Military commands around the globe went on high alert, but they were helpless to stop the approaching vessel. It was too fast, too advanced for Earth's defenses. The ship breached Earth's atmosphere, releasing its payload high above the planet's surface. The bomb detonated silently, releasing a massive burst of concentrated oxygen that quickly dispersed through the air. On the Zixarian command ship, Zix-Thor and his crew watched with anticipation. They expected to see signs of chaos on the planet below. Mass panic, systems failures, the collapse of human civilization. But as minutes turned to hours, confusion spread through the alien ranks. Earth continued to spin peacefully, showing no signs of distress. Human activities continued unabated. What's happening? Zix-Thor demanded. Why isn't the bomb working? The chief scientist frantically analyzed the data pouring in from their sensors. I don't understand, she stammered. The oxygen levels on the planet have increased exactly as we predicted. But the humans, they're not affected at all. As the Zixarians struggled to comprehend their failure, they didn't realize that their actions had not gone unnoticed. Deep in underground bunkers and secret facilities, Earth's defenders were piecing together what had happened. The stage was set for humanity's entrance onto the galactic scene, not as victims, but as survivors ready to fight back. Confusion reigned on the Zixarian command ship. Commander Zix-Thor paced back and forth, his 6 eyes darting between holographic displays showing various parts of Earth. The planet continued its peaceful rotation, utterly unaffected by what should have been a devastating attack. Explain this to me again, Zix-Thor growled at his chief scientist, Lixra. How is it possible that the humans survived? Lixra's tentacles twisted nervously as she consulted her datapad. Commander, the oxygen bomb functioned perfectly. Earth's atmosphere now contains 30% more oxygen than before. On any other world we've conquered, this would have caused widespread death and destruction. Vixna, the second in command, chimed in. Could our intelligence on human physiology be wrong? Impossible, Lixra insisted. We've studied them extensively. Their need for oxygen is well documented. This defies everything we know about biology. As the Zixarians argued, the scene on Earth was quite different. In a top-secret military bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Martinez stared at her own set of screens, her face a mask of concern. Report, she barked at her team of scientists and analysts. Dr. James Chen, the lead atmospheric scientist, stepped forward. General, approximately 6 hours ago, we detected a massive spike in atmospheric oxygen levels. It happened suddenly, globally, and doesn't match any known natural phenomenon. Martinez's eyes narrowed. Cause? Unknown, Chen admitted. But given the unnatural speed and uniformity of the change, we have to consider the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement. The room fell silent. The idea of alien contact had been theorized and prepared for, but now that it seemed to be happening, the reality was overwhelming. Effects on the population? Martins asked, breaking the tense silence. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the chief medical officer, consulted her tablet. That's the strangest part, General. Despite the significant increase in oxygen levels, we're seeing no adverse effects. In fact, early reports suggest people are feeling more energetic, and some respiratory conditions seem to be improving. Back on the Zixarian ship, the aliens were reaching a similar conclusion. Lixra's voice was filled with disbelief as she reported her findings. Commander, it appears the humans are not only surviving the increased oxygen levels, They're thriving in them. Zixthor's face contorted in a mix of anger and confusion. How is this possible? The oxygen bomb has never failed before. Vixna, always the tactical thinker, raised a troubling point. Sir, if the humans can withstand such high oxygen levels, they might be more formidable than we initially thought. This realization sent a ripple of unease through the Zixarian crew. Their entire strategy was based on the assumption that the oxygen bomb would incapacitate the humans, leaving Earth ripe for conquest. Now that plan lay in ruins. On Earth, governments around the world were scrambling to understand and respond to the situation. In Washington, D.C., the President of the United States sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by her top advisors. "So, you're telling me," the President said slowly, "that someone or something just dumped a massive amount of oxygen into our atmosphere, and instead of killing us, it's making us feel better?" The Secretary of Defense nodded grimly. "Yes, Madam President, and given the nature of this event, we have to assume it's a prelude to something else." As if on cue, alarms began blaring in military installations across the globe. The Zixarian fleet, realizing their initial plan had failed, decided to reveal themselves. Massive ships began appearing in Earth's skies, their advanced cloaking technology deactivating to showcase their overwhelming technological superiority. Panic spread across Earth as the alien ships became visible. Social media exploded with images and videos of the massive vessels hovering over major cities. Governments rushed to respond, but Earth's military capabilities seemed woefully inadequate against the advanced alien fleet. In New York City, Sarah Lee, a young biochemist, stared up at the alien ship looming over the Manhattan skyline. Unlike those around her, who were running in terror, Sarah's mind was racing with scientific curiosity. "The oxygen," she muttered to herself. "It must have been them. But why? And how are we surviving it?" As Sarah's mind worked on the problem, she didn't realize that she was stumbling upon the key to humanity's survival and future victory. Meanwhile, in a small town in Kenya, Dr. Amari Okello, an environmental scientist, was making his own connections. He had been studying human adaptation to the high-altitude environments when the oxygen levels change. Now, he saw a link between his research and this unprecedented event. "We've been preparing for this our entire evolutionary history," he said in awe as he rushed to contact his colleagues around the world. Back on the Zixarian command ship, Zixthor made a decision. If the oxygen bomb won't work, we'll have to resort to traditional conquest. Prepare the invasion forces. But as the Zixarians readied themselves for war, they didn't realize that their failed attack had given humanity something invaluable. Knowledge of their existence, time to prepare, and most importantly, a clue to their own hidden strength. The stage was set for a conflict unlike any other in Earth's history. Humanity, armed with their unexpected resistance to the oxygen bomb and their unparalleled adaptability, was about to face its greatest challenge. And in facing it, they would discover just how remarkable they truly were. The world held its breath as the Zixarian ships hovered menacingly over major cities. In New York, Sarah Lee raced through the chaos-filled streets towards her lab at Columbia University. She dodged panicked crowds and ignored the wail of sirens, her mind focused on one thing: understanding why the increased oxygen levels hadn't harmed humanity. Meanwhile, in Nairobi, Dr. Amari Okello was doing the same. He burst into his research facility at the University of Nairobi, startling his colleagues who were glued to news broadcasts. "We need to compile all our data on human adaptation to varying oxygen levels," he shouted, already pulling up files on his computer. Particularly the studies on high-altitude populations. Across the globe, other scientists were coming to similar realizations. The failed oxygen bomb attack had inadvertently revealed a crucial aspect of human physiology that even humans themselves hadn't fully understood. In the top-secret bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Martinez was coordinating a global response to the alien threat. Screens around her showed world leaders in an emergency video conference. "Ladies and gentlemen, Martins addressed the grim-faced politicians. We're facing an unprecedented threat, but we may have an unexpected advantage. Our scientists are reporting that the aliens' initial attack, a massive increase in atmospheric oxygen, has failed. The President of the United States leaned forward. Failed how, General? It seems, Martins explained, that humans are not only resistant to high oxygen levels, but may actually benefit from them. We're still gathering data, but reports indicate increased energy levels and improved health across the board. A murmur of surprise rippled through the video feeds. The Chinese premier spoke up. How is this possible? And more importantly, how can we use this to our advantage? Before Martinez could respond, a new alert flashed across her screens. We have movement from the alien ships, she reported, her voice tense. They're deploying smaller craft. It looks like they're preparing for a ground invasion. In New York, Sarah Lee had reached her lab. She worked feverishly, analyzing blood samples and atmospheric data. Suddenly, her computer pinged with an incoming video call. It was Dr. Okello from Nairobi. Sarah, Amari's excited face filled the screen. Are you seeing this? The oxygen levels, there. Off the charts. Sarah finished for him. But instead of killing us, it's like we're supercharge. Amari nodded. My team's been studying Tibetan and Andean populations for years. Their adaptations to high-altitude, low-oxygen environments. I think they're key to understanding what's happening now. As the two scientists excitedly shared their findings, the Zixarian invasion forces were facing an unexpected challenge. Commander Zixthor watched in disbelief as the first wave of ground troops reported back. What do you mean, you're having trouble breathing? He demanded. The Zixarian soldier on the video feed wheezed. His breathing labored. The air, sir. It's too rich for our respiratory systems. We can't function effectively. Vixna, the second in command, turned to Lixra, the chief scientist. Explain this. How can the humans thrive in an environment that's debilitating to us? Lixra's tentacles writhed in agitation. It's unprecedented. Their evolutionary path must have prepared them for these conditions in ways we never anticipated. Back on Earth, the initial panic was giving way to a strange mix of fear and excitement. News had spread about humanity's apparent resistance to the alien attack. Social media was buzzing with memes and hashtags like #Can'tBreathe and #HumanityFTDA. In hospitals around the world, doctors were reporting miraculous recoveries. Patients with respiratory issues were showing dramatic improvements. Athletes were breaking records in impromptu tests of strength and endurance. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the chief medical officer in the military bunker, reported her findings to General Martinez. It's astonishing, she said, her voice filled with awe. The increased oxygen levels are enhancing our cellular respiration. People are healing faster, thinking clearer, moving quicker. Martinez's mind raced with the tactical implications. So you're saying, we might actually have a physical advantage over the aliens? Rodriguez nodded. It appears so. In their attempt to poison us, they've inadvertently given us a power-up. As this realization spread through Earth's defense forces, a new sense of hope began to emerge. Humanity, it seemed, had an unexpected ace up its sleeve. In orbit, the Zixarian command was in disarray, their ground invasion faltering, their supposed superweapon turned against them. Zixthor faced a decision he never thought he'd have to make. Recall the ground forces, he ordered, his voice heavy. We need to reassess our entire strategy. As the smaller Zixarian craft retreated to their motherships, cheers erupted in streets around the world. Humanity had survived the first wave of the alien invasion, and in doing so, discovered a strength they never knew they had. But both humans and Zixarians knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would be back with a new plan, and humanity would need to harness their newfound advantage quickly if they hoped to survive the next attack. As night fell across the Earth, the alien ships remained in the sky, a constant reminder of the threat looming over humanity. But for the first time since the massive vessels appeared, there was a glimmer of hope. In labs, in military bases, and in homes around the world, humans began to prepare for the fight of their lives, a fight they now believed they had a chance of winning. As the sun rose on the second day of the alien invasion, the world was a changed place. The Zixarian ships still loomed in the skies, but the initial panic had given way to a determined buzz of activity. In laboratories, military bases, and homes around the globe, humanity was preparing to fight back. In New York, Sarah Lee hadn't slept. She stood in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing complex DNA models. Her colleague, Dr. Amari Okello, was on a video call from Nairobi, his excited voice filling the room. "Sarah, look at this," Amari said, sending over a new data set. "I've compared the DNA of high-altitude populations with our current oxygen adaptation. The similarities are striking." Sarah's eyes widened as she examined the data. "It's like our entire evolutionary history has been preparing us for this moment," she mused. "But how do we use this information?" Their conversation was interrupted by a global broadcast. On screens worldwide, the face of Dr. Elena Rodriguez appeared, speaking from the military bunker. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice calm but urgent. "We have discovered why the aliens' oxygen attack failed. Throughout human history, our species has faced numerous challenges that forced us to adapt to changing oxygen levels." The broadcast cut to a series of images. Ancient humans migrating across continents, climbing mountains, diving in oceans. From the high plateaus of Tibet to the deep valleys of the Andes, Dr. Rodriguez continued, "Humans have lived and thrived in environments with vastly different oxygen levels. This adaptability, encoded in our DNA, is now our greatest weapon against the alien threat." In the Zixarian command ship, Commander Zixthor watched the broadcast with growing concern. "They're turning our weapon against us," he growled. "Vixna, what's the status of our ground forces?" Vixna's report was grim. "Our troops are struggling, sir. The oxygen-rich atmosphere is severely impacting their performance. Meanwhile, human resistance is growing stronger by the hour." On Earth, the effects of the increased oxygen were becoming more pronounced. Athletes were breaking world records left and right. People with chronic illnesses reported miraculous recoveries. Even the elderly were experiencing renewed vigor. In a small town in Colorado, 85-year-old Martha Johnson stunned her neighbors by single-handedly lifting a fallen tree that had blocked the road. "I haven't felt this good since I was 20, she exclaimed, barely out of breath. Similar scenes were playing out across the globe. Humanity was not just surviving the high-oxygen environment. They were thriving in it. Back in the military bunker, General Martinez was briefing world leaders on the latest developments. "The aliens clearly didn't anticipate our adaptability," she explained. "We're seeing increased strength, stamina, and cognitive function across the board. Our forces are mobilizing with unprecedented speed and efficiency." The Chinese premier leaned forward, her face determined. "We must strike while we have the advantage. What's our plan of attack?" Martinez nodded to her team, and a holographic display of Earth appeared, showing the positions of the alien ships. "We're coordinating a global counteroffensive. But first, we need to understand their technology better." In orbit, the Zixarians were facing a crisis. Lixra, the chief scientist, addressed the command staff, her tentacles twitching nervously. "Commanders, we've grossly underestimated human physiology. Their ability to not just survive but thrive in high-oxygen environments is unprecedented in our galactic conquests." Zixthor's 6 eyes narrowed. "Are you saying these humans pose a genuine threat to us?" Lixra nodded gravely. "I'm afraid so, sir. In our attempt to weaken them, we've inadvertently enhanced their capabilities. If they can harness this advantage effectively, they could become formidable opponents." As if to underscore her point, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Vixna rushed to the control panel. "Sir, we're detecting multiple launches from the planet's surface. Around the world, Humanity had launched its first coordinated attack against the alien invaders. Fighter jets, now capable of flying higher and faster than ever before, streaked towards the Zixarian ships. On the ground, human soldiers, their strength and reflexes enhanced by the oxygen-rich air, engaged the struggling alien ground forces. In New York, Sarah and Amari watched the events unfold on the news, their earlier scientific excitement now tinged with concern for the future. "We did it, Amari," Sarah said softly. "We found a way to fight back. But what happens next? This is just the beginning of a war we never asked for." Amari's voice was solemn over the video link. "You're right, Sarah. But remember, this discovery isn't just about fighting. Think of the medical applications, the potential advancements in human capabilities. Once this conflict is over, we could be looking at a new chapter in human evolution." As battles raged in the skies and on the ground, humanity faced an uncertain future. The aliens' oxygen bomb, intended to be their deadliest weapon, had instead unlocked humanity's hidden potential. But the war was far from over. In the coming days, both humans and Zixarians would be forced to reassess everything they thought they knew about warfare, biology, and the nature of intelligence itself. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, but for the first time since the massive alien ships appeared in the sky, hope burned bright in the hearts of humans everywhere. The greatest test of human resilience had begun, and the entire galaxy was watching. The skies above Earth buzzed with activity as human fighter jets engaged the Zixarian ships. Pilots, their reflexes sharpened by the oxygen-rich atmosphere, performed maneuvers that would have been impossible just days ago. On the ground, armies around the world pushed back against the alien invaders, their newfound strength turning the tide of battle. In a secret facility deep beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood before a twisted piece of alien metal, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "This is it," she breathed, running her hand over the smooth surface. "Our first real piece of Zixarian technology." The debris had been recovered from a downed alien scout ship, shot down during the initial counterattack. Now, it represented humanity's best chance at understanding, and eventually matching, the invaders' advanced capabilities. Dr. Tanaka turned to her team, a mix of the world's brightest engineers and scientists. "Let's get to work," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Every second counts." As they began their analysis, using tools and techniques that pushed the boundaries of human science, a similar scene was playing out in research centers around the globe. Humanity was pooling its resources, sharing knowledge at an unprecedented rate in a race against time. Meanwhile, in the military bunker, General Martinez stood before a holographic display of the ongoing battles. "Status report," she barked. A young lieutenant stepped forward. "Ma'am, our forces have successfully repelled Zixarian ground troops in most major cities. Their inability to adapt to our atmosphere has given us a significant advantage." Martinez nodded, her face grim. "And in the air, we're holding our own, but barely," the lieutenant replied. "Their technology is still far superior to ours. We're winning through sheer numbers and the element of surprise, but we can't keep this up forever." As if to underscore his point, an alarm blared. A new cluster of red dots appear on the holographic display. "They're launching a new wave of attacks," Martinez growled. "Alert all commands. We need to hold the line." In orbit, aboard the Zixarian command ship, Commander Zixthor was facing a crisis. His invasion force, once considered unstoppable, was being pushed back by a species they had grossly underestimated. "How is this possible?" he raged, his 6 eyes flashing with anger. These humans were supposed to be primitive. Vixna, his second in command, approached cautiously. "Sir, we've intercepted their communications. It seems they're reverse engineering our technology from the debris of our fallen ships." Zixthor's anger turned to concern. If they master our technology while retaining their advantage in this oxygen-rich environment. He didn't need to finish the thought. The implications were clear and terrifying. Back on Earth, in New York City, Sarah Lee and Amari Okello, still connected via video call from Nairobi, were making a breakthrough of their own. "Amari, look at this," Sarah said, excitement in her voice. She sent over a data file. "I've been analyzing the DNA samples from our enhanced humans. There's a pattern here, a sequence that seems to be activated by the increased oxygen levels." Amari's eyes widened as he reviewed the data. "Sarah, this is incredible. If we can isolate this sequence, we might be able to enhance these effects even further," Sarah finished. "Maybe even find a way to temporarily suppress the Zixarians' negative reaction to our atmosphere." Their discovery was immediately relayed to military command. Within hours, research teams around the world were working on two critical projects: enhancing human capabilities and developing a way to neutralize the Zixarians' atmospheric advantage. In the Nevada facility, Dr. Tanaka's team had made significant progress. They had managed to power up a piece of Zixarian technology and were beginning to understand its principles. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," Dr. Tanaka explained to the team of engineers gathered around her. "Their power source, their materials, they're decades, maybe centuries ahead of us. But the principles, we can understand them. We can learn from them." One of the engineers, a young prodigy named Alex Chen, spoke up. "Dr. Tanaka, I think I've found a way to adapt some of their propulsion technology to our existing aircraft. If we can implement this quickly." Dr. Tanaka's eyes lit up. "We might be able to match their maneuverability in the air." "Excellent work, Alex. Let's get this information to our manufacturing centers immediately." As dawn broke on the 5th day of the invasion, humanity launched its most coordinated attack yet. Fighters equipped with reverse-engineered alien technology took to the skies, engaging the Zixarian ships on more equal terms. On the ground, soldiers injected with a new serum developed from Sarah and Amari's research displayed strength and reflexes that bordered on superhuman. They pushed back against the alien ground forces with renewed vigor. In orbit, Commander Zix Thor watched in disbelief as his forces were slowly but surely pushed back. "Impossible," he muttered. "How could they have advanced so quickly?" Vixna approached, her face grim. "Sir, we're receiving reports from our homeworld. Other species we've conquered. They're beginning to rebel. News of the humans' resistance has spread." Zix Thor realized with growing dread that this battle had become about more than just conquering Earth. The very foundation of the Zixarian Empire was at stake. As the battle raged on Earth and in the skies above, humanity dared to hope. They had survived the initial invasion, adapted to the Zixarians' deadliest weapon, and were now pushing back against a technologically superior foe. The war was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed possible. Humanity's counterattack had begun, and the Zixarians were about to learn just how resilient and adaptable their intended victims could be. The war had entered its 3rd week, and Earth had become a battleground unlike any in human history. Cities lay in ruins, but from the ashes, a new kind of human civilization was emerging, one that combined reverse-engineered alien technology with humanity's newfound biological advantages. In what was once downtown Los Angeles, now a makeshift military base, Captain Maya Rodriguez led her squad through the debris-strewn streets. Her team moved with superhuman speed and agility, their bodies enhanced by the oxygen-rich atmosphere and the serum developed by Dr. Sarah Lee and Dr. Amari Okello. "Movement ahead," Maya whispered, her enhanced senses picking up the slightest disturbance. "Zixarian patrol, 3 o'clock." Her squad took position, their weapons, a mix of human and alien technology, at the ready. As the Zixarian soldiers rounded the corner, gasping in the oxygen-rich air, Maya's team struck with lightning speed. The skirmish was over in seconds, the aliens overwhelmed by the humans' enhanced abilities and their own respiratory distress. "Command, this is Alpha Team," Maya reported into her comm device. "Sector 7 clear. Moving to rendezvous point." Similar scenes played out across the globe as humanity pushed back against the invaders, their resistance growing stronger with each passing day. In orbit, aboard the Zixarian command ship, the mood was grim. Commander Zixthor stared at the holographic display of Earth, red indicators showing their dwindling territory. "How?" he muttered, more to himself than to his officers. "How have they adapted so quickly?" Vixna approached, her usual confidence shaken. "Sir, we've intercepted more transmissions. It seems other species are taking notice of the humans' resistance." Zixthor's 6 eyes widened in alarm. "Explain." "Reports are spreading through the galaxy," Vixna continued. "The humans are being hailed as the first species to successfully resist our invasion. It's inspiring others." The implications hit Zixthor like a physical blow. Their empire, built on the fear and subjugation of countless species, was facing its first real challenge. Back on Earth, in a hidden facility beneath the ruins of Geneva, world leaders had gathered for an emergency summit. The room buzzed with a mix of languages as translators worked overtime to keep communication flowing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the assembly, her face showing the strain of weeks of non-stop work. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we've made a breakthrough." The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. "Thanks to the combined efforts of our global research teams, we've not only enhanced our own capabilities, but developed a way to neutralize the Zixarians' atmospheric advantage." Excited murmurs filled the room. The President of the United States leaned forward. "Explain, Doctor. How is this possible?" Dr. Rodriguez gestured, and a holographic display appeared, showing complex molecular structures. "By combining our understanding of human adaptability with reversed-engineered Zixarian technology, we've created a compound that can temporarily alter atmospheric composition on a localized scale." She paused, allowing the implications to sink in. "In simple terms, we can create bubbles of Earth-like atmosphere around our troops as they advance. The Zixarians will no longer have a safe zone to retreat to." The Chinese premier stood, her face resolute. "How soon can we deploy this technology?" "Production is already underway," Dr. Rodriguez replied. "We can begin large-scale deployment within 48 hours." As the summit erupted into strategic planning, news of humanity's latest advancements spread across the globe, boosting morale and reinvigorating the resistance. In New York, Sarah Lee and Amari Okello, still connected via video call, watched the announcement with a mix of pride and apprehension. "We did it, Amari," Sarah said, her voice tinged with awe. "We've given humanity a fighting chance." Amari nodded, his expression serious. "But at what cost, Sarah? This war has already changed us in ways we couldn't have imagined. What will we become if we win?" Before Sarah could respond, an alert flashed on their screens. A transmission, origin unknown, was broadcasting on all frequencies. As they watched, stunned, the face of an alien, clearly not Zixarian, appeared. Its features were soft, almost luminous, its eyes large and expressive. "People of Earth," the alien began, its words translated into every human language simultaneously. "I am Zora, representative of the Galactic Council. We have been watching your struggle against the Zixarian invasion with great interest." Around the world, humans stopped what they were doing. All eyes turned to the nearest screen. "Your resistance has not gone unnoticed," Zora continued. "For too long, the Zixarians have been allowed to rampage unchecked through the galaxy. Your species, in its remarkable adaptability and unwavering spirit, has shown us that they can be defeated." In the Zixarian command ship, Zixthor watched the transmission with mounting horror. "No," he whispered, "this cannot be happening." Zora's message continued, her words filling humans with a mix of hope and trepidation. "The Galactic Council has decided to officially recognize Earth as a sovereign planet. Moreover, we extend an invitation to your species to join us in pushing back against Zixarian aggression across the galaxy." The implications were staggering. Humanity, in the span of a few short weeks, had gone from an isolated species on the brink of annihilation to a recognized player on the galactic stage. As Zora's transmission ended, a moment of silence fell across the Earth. Then, gradually, a sound began to build. Starting in small pockets and growing to a global roar, humans cheered, cried, and embraced one another. The war was not over. The Zixarians, cornered and desperate, would not go down without a fight. But in this moment, humanity realized they were no longer alone in the vast expanse of the cosmos. The battle for Earth had become a battle for galactic recognition, and humanity had just taken its first steps onto a much larger stage. The days following the Galactic Council's announcement were a whirlwind of activity. Earth's military forces, bolstered by their new atmospheric manipulation technology and the promise of galactic support, launched a final, coordinated assault against the Zixarian invaders. In the skies above New York, Captain Maya Rodriguez piloted a fighter jet enhanced with reverse-engineered alien tech. She weaved through the chaos of battle, her heightened reflexes allowing her to perform maneuvers that would have been impossible just weeks ago. "This is Skyfall, leader," she called into her comm. "We've got a clear shot at their command ship, requesting permission to engage." General Martinez's voice crackled through the speaker. "Permission granted, Skyfall leader. Give him hell." Maya's squadron dove towards the massive Zixarian vessel, their weapons charged with a combination of human ingenuity and alien power sources. The resulting battle was spectacular, lighting up the sky with explosions that could be seen for miles. On the ground, Dr. Sarah Lee and Dr. Amari Okello, still coordinating via video call, worked tirelessly to monitor the effects of their atmospheric manipulation technology. "The bubbles are holding stable," Amari reported, his eyes fixed on the data streaming across his screen. "Our troops are advancing into Zixarian-held territory without any oxygen issues." Sarah nodded, her face a mix of excitement and concern. "But we're seeing some unexpected side effects and prolonged exposure. We need to warn Command that this should only be used for short-term assaults." As they relayed their findings to Military Command, a new alert flashed across their screens. The face of Zora, the Galactic Council representative, appeared. "People of Earth," she began, her alien features somehow conveying warmth. "The Council's peacekeeping fleet has entered your solar system. We stand ready to assist in your defense." A cheer went up from the scientists gathered around the screens. Humanity was no longer alone in this fight. In orbit, aboard the Zixarian command ship, chaos reigned. Commander Zixthor watched in disbelief as a fleet of ships, far more advanced than even his own, appeared at the edge of the solar system. "It's over," Vixna said softly, standing beside her commander. "We've lost." Zixthor's 6 eyes narrowed, a mixture of anger and resignation in his voice. "Send the signal. All forces, retreat." As the Zixarian ships began to pull back, withdrawn by their commanders or destroyed by the combined human and Galactic Council forces, a sense of disbelief swept across Earth. After weeks of brutal conflict, the war was ending not with a bang, but with the retreat of those who had once seemed invincible. In the following days, as the dust of battle began to settle, humanity faced a new challenge, coming to terms with their place in a much larger, more complex galaxy. World leaders gathered once again, this time in the partially rebuilt United Nations headquarters in New York. They were joined by holographic projections of representatives from the Galactic Council. "The Zixarian threat has been neutralized," Zara announced, her image floating above the assembly. "Their empire is crumbling as we speak, with subjugated species rising up across the galaxy, inspired by Earth's resistance." The room erupted in applause, but Zara held up a hand for silence. "However, this is just the beginning. Your species has shown remarkable potential, but you have much to learn about the wider galaxy. We are here to guide you in this transition." The President of the United States stood, her voice filled with cautious optimism. "And what exactly does this transition entail?" Zara's expression softened. "Education, cultural exchange, technological advancement, but all at a pace your species can handle. We've seen too many worlds crumble under the weight of knowledge they weren't prepared for. Your path will be gradual, but we have high hopes for humanity's role in the galactic community. As the meeting continued, discussing the first steps of Earth's integration into galactic society, other scenes played out across the planet. In a hospital in Mumbai, doctors marveled at the recovery rates of patients treated with a combination of traditional medicine and adapted alien healing technology. On a farm in Kansas, an agricultural scientist examined crops that had flourished in the oxygen-rich environment, pondering the implications for solving world hunger. In a classroom in Lagos, children listened in awe as their teacher explained that their next field trip would be to a Galactic Council education center on the moon. And in a small apartment in New York, Sarah Lee and Amari Okello, finally meeting in person after weeks of video calls, sat together, watching the sun set on a changed world. "We did it," Sarah said softly. "We saved the world." Amari nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We did more than that. We opened up the universe." As night fell, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before. Humanity looked up at the sky with new eyes, seeing not just pinpricks of light, but potential new friends, allies, and adventures. The Zixarian invasion, meant to be the end of human civilization, had instead become the beginning of a new chapter. Humanity had not only survived but thrived, proving their resilience and adaptability to the galaxy at large. Challenges lay ahead: rebuilding, adapting to new technologies, learning to coexist with alien species. But after facing down an invasion that had threatened to wipe them out, these seemed like exciting opportunities rather than insurmountable obstacles. As Earth took its first steps into a larger galactic community, one thing was clear: the future, vast and unknown as it might be, was bright with possibility. Humanity, tested by fire and found unbreakable, was ready to take its place among the stars.